back to doing things a little bit differently and learning your procedures all over again. We're all good. All right, I've got the 2 thumbs up, so let's try that again. Welcome, everybody, to the CFRI General Meeting for November 9th. We are so glad that you could be here to join us, whether it is in person in the auditorium today, or possibly those of you that are participating with our simulcast over Zoom. Again, so glad that you could be here. We're going to, obviously, for those folks that are here in person, you are able to go and see the various business member tables and mix and mingle with the various vendors, talk to folks. For those of you participating on Zoom, you'll get to see the presentation, but we encourage you to come to the meeting if you can at all do that. We've heard from several different people in the past when we've been talking about these meetings. You know, it's in our field, especially working in real estate, one of the things we need to be able to do is you need to be able to take action. And if you're going to take action, that often means things like coming here and showing up to a meeting. Obviously, again, understanding if you can, not everybody can do that. So let's go ahead and get right into the slides. We're going to cover some of the basic stuff that I'm sure a lot of you have seen already, but we want to make sure that those folks that have not seen this before or have not had a chance to see some of the basic intro stuff gets a chance to know a little bit about CFRI, why we're here, what we're here to do. And if you did not know, CFRI is a nonprofit. We are one of the largest nonprofit RIAs, and we pride ourselves on being a very large nonprofit RIA that takes the opportunity to provide for its member base all these things you see up here: education, networking, and a lot of information about what's going on in the real estate industry. Now, one of the things that we have not had the opportunity to announce in quite some time, excuse me, and I'm very glad that we are able to finally announce this once again, is the meeting after the meeting. So when it comes to meeting after the meeting, if you're not familiar with this, usually what happens is folks, after they leave any of our CFRI meetings, whether it be this meeting or any of the focus group or the county meetings, things like that, we have a meeting after the meeting where you can get together and you can mix and mingle with folks. Again, if you look at the information here, it's going to be at the Ale House. That is just up the street. Make a note of it, 1251 Lee Road. I do not know who will be there or who won't be there. I do know that Todd Hutchison has said he will be there. He's a former president of CFRI. I'm sure other folks will as well. So if that's something you're interested in, folks typically go there right after the meeting. Again, if you're not familiar with some of the basic stuff, you'll see this on the intro slides for almost every meeting you go to. It is very important that we tell you that as CFRI, we're not here as the experts. I'm not an expert CPA. I'm not an expert lawyer, anything like that. You need to consult your experts. And so one of the things that you should do is make sure when you are working on any project that you take advantage of the business members that we do have at CFRI, and you get a good CPA, you get a good lawyer, you get people that are experts in their field, and you use them to provide that advice. So here, you'll hear a lot of very interesting things, but don't take it as gospel unless it is an expert that you know is an expert in that field. And some of you already know, hey, we're available online at different places. Obviously, when we can, we're trying to make some of these meetings available via Zoom. But in the interim, when you are not able to actively talk to somebody, you can participate in the various online methods that we have, whether it's Facebook and especially the CFRI members only Facebook group. How many people, just out of curiosity, how many people here are a part of that Facebook group? A couple, yeah, a lot of you. Okay, great. Excellent. I would say that I'm a member of that group as well. I'm not on there very often, but definitely fun to see all the information that gets shared and the communication that takes place in those online media. So make sure that you take advantage of that. Now, we are a part of National RIA. And as a part of National RIA, that means that you get to take advantage of all of the things that National RIA can provide to us, like a lot of different discounts. In fact, we're going to show some of those discounts up here. Now, if you've been to a lot of our meetings before, you might be looking at that slide thinking, that looks a little different. Because the first time I saw it, getting ready for today's presentation, I went, wow, that's a lot more than I've seen up there before. And that's because National Re has been busy adding in some more of these partnerships that we can take advantage of. So take a good look at that slide. You can find out about all the member benefits, of course, at the CFRI website, cfri.net. Again, this is member benefits. So if you're not a CFRI member, this is just yet another reason why you want to be a CFRI member and partake. There are a lot of excellent discounts that you can take advantage of. Some of them we're going to highlight here in just a moment. But again, take a good look at all the different things you can take advantage of as being a member of CFRI. Now, one of those is the Home Depot discount. And by being a member and using this NREA code, the NREIA, and putting that in your Home Depot account, what you have to do is you have to create an account on Home Depot's website. Your email address needs to make sure it matches your CFRI email address. Learn that is very important because from time to time they do go audit those, and you want to make sure that yours is going to match because that's how they audit them. But by doing this, then you go in, you register any of your credit cards, any of your gift cards, things that you're going to use at Home Depot to make purchases. Not only is an easy system to keep track of what you've purchased and put in different codes for what is being used for, but you get rebates. 2% purchase rebates. And of course, Home Depot also has the paint program as well as other discount programs that you can participate in. If you're not familiar with it, make sure you check out the CFRI newsletter because one of the things that's in the newsletter is information towards the end that talks about how to go online, how to register, and take advantage of that. And again, these are all things that you get for being a CFRI member. Now, Office Max, Office Depot is another one that is used a lot by our members. We've heard people describe huge discounts that they've gotten by taking advantage of that and getting a discount on their printing or other things they're having done. All you have to do, in the back, is text CFRI card to that number. So that's 844-446-6358. You get a discount card that's basically in that message, and then you can use that when you go to Office Depot, Office Max. And again, to find out more about any of these capabilities and to find out more about our business members, make sure you check out all of the availability on the CFRI website. A lot of good resources there. Policies and procedures, the newsletter, member directory, business member directory, you name it, it's all out there. So be sure you take advantage of it. And if you haven't already seen the November newsletter, it's out. It was out on November 1st. And you can take advantage of that, again, from the CFRI website. So just cfri.net, and you can see all of the great articles. You can see advertisements from the business members, and you can even take advantage of that Home Depot information that we were talking about a moment ago. All right. Now, some folks have been asking, what about the other meetings? What about the other meetings? Well, almost every single one of them is now available in person. There are a couple of exceptions. So again, always check the calendar, find out whether it's in person or whether it's via Zoom. Make sure, if at all possible, you need to register in advance so that we have an accurate idea of who's going to be able to come. Are we prepared for this? And then the rare occasion where we still have places where we're limited on the number of people that can attend, we keep track of that and we don't overfill a particular location. But for the rest of this month, everything's going to be in person. That's because the Osceola meeting was already held. That's one of the locations where we still can't quite meet in person yet. And I believe there was one other one. Can't remember it at the moment. Anyway. So make sure you check out CFRI's calendar. It's on the website. Very easy to see what's going on, when the meetings are. One of the things that you want to make sure and remember, it's in that top banner up there. Obviously, those of you that are here, those of you that are participating online, you already know, but we moved the meeting. It is now the second Tuesday. The general meeting is now the second Tuesday of every month. It's going to give us a lot more capability for a meeting here at this location, which made obvious sense in terms of that change. I've said several things already about if you're a member, if you're a member, if you're a member. If you're not a member, here's a great opportunity for you. You can become a member. As a matter of fact, I already know one or two people that have taken advantage of this tonight, and that is take advantage of either joining tonight with a discount code that I'll talk about in a second, or hey, try it out. We can get a 3-month trial membership, and you can do that for only $75 for one person. So you can try it out, see if you like it. If you really like it, even roll that into a general membership. And speaking of the general membership, if you want to just go ahead and sign up and say, hey, this is for me, I want to do the whole thing, I want to be here for a whole year, you can use the $25 discount code of fall21 and join us for a whole year. We'd love to have you as a member if you're not already. Now, one of the things you may not know is that today's theme is all about giving thanks for CFRI being here and all of its members and business members making what we do possible. So in the spirit of doing that, and obviously there are some people still out there at the business member tables and they haven't made their way in here just yet. They're not going to know these details just yet. So you can take advantage of this. Today, when we get towards the end of the meeting, right before we break, and some of you go to the meeting after the meeting, we're going to be doing some giveaways. We're going to be calling your name and giving away some Home Depot gift cards. So if you're interested in that, make sure you're here, make sure you're in your seat, because when we call the name, if you're not in here, you don't win. We move on to the next name just like that. All right? But that is something we're going to be doing today as a part of, again, giving thanks and saying thank you to all of our members for making CFRI possible. Now, we are going to move into our next section, which is the deal and or dud of the month. Tonight, we have two amazing deals of the month. They are very, very interesting, and I have been really looking forward to talking to both Rob Arnold and Phil Georges about these two deals. They're just really, really interesting. Now, normally, I would hand the microphone off to Stephen Young, our vice president. He decided that, hey, he wanted to take a vacation. I can't imagine why. No, just kidding. Obviously, he is off on vacation, so more power to him, and glad he is able to do that. But I told him that I would take over for tonight, and we would do the deal of the month. And for our first one today, we are going to be talking to Mr. Rob Arnold. Rob, if I can get you to come on up here. There you are, sir. Thank you for that huge round of applause for Mr. Rob Arnold. Thank you. Now, for those of you that don't know, Rob Arnold has served on the board before. He's been involved with CFRI for many, many years, and he currently is also our legislative chair, which means he's the one that's out there looking for what's going on with all the laws and changes and letting us know, hey, you need to be aware of this. So if you've seen some notifications in, I assume like the Facebook group, and I know via email, that you're the one giving us all that great information. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. If it's anything, I post everything on a Facebook group. If it's anything that's kind of urgent, I try to get Buffy to email it out.
Exactly. So that's how you hear that great information. And not only do I want you guys to applaud when we have somebody come up or those type of things, but especially for Rob. Let me have one more round of applause for Rob, please, because he does that for us. That is how we get that great information. Now, Rob, this one, I looked at the picture and the first thing I saw was a bunch of trees. I said, wait a minute, what do we got here? Tell us a little bit about the beginning of this and how this all got started. How'd you find out about it?
Well, I do a lot of internet marketing online, and this is a lead that came in through our website, and the seller was an investment company person in California. I'm not quite sure how they ended up buying it, but they had owned it for several years before it came to me, and I'm not sure what they were doing. There was a couple of years back taxes, and anyway, they came through the website, and that's where I got it and worked out a deal with them.
Interesting. Now, you said investment company. Did they have a lot of different things here in Central Florida, or do you know?
This is the only one that I'm aware of that they had. So, and this is not, I mean, this is kind of, Arcadia is kind of a rural area. experience. And it's a small southern town, but it's not close to anything. So.
All right. And I see the subtag or the subline up here says tax-free cash flow from vacant land. So I'm sure we're going to hear more about that. Ended up being, it says 12 vacant lots. Now, I believe if I'm correct, as we get into this, you're going to tell us more about what could and couldn't be done with that. Is that something you knew right away or something that you discovered along the way?
Yeah, I put under contract, and then I had maybe a 7-day due diligence period, and that's where I contacted the county and the building department of the county and did my research to make sure what couldn't be done, verify the zoning, what can be built, what are the setbacks, things like that. So,
all right, very important part there. I hope everybody heard that. Several of you already know and have done it, but it's very important during that due diligence period to be doing your investigation, checking these things out, knowing what you're getting into, because you can't just assume, hey, 12 lots, all right, we're going to put 12 new mobile homes on there, 12 houses. That's not always something that's going to be possible.
Right.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide here. Now, I assume that basically what we're looking at in the pictures is basically the lots. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. The picture on the left is facing south, and the picture on the right is kind of facing to the northwest of the property. I took after I bought it. I didn't do it before, but after I bought it, I took a field trip to go and visit and see what I bought. So bought it sight unseen, but yeah, you can do amazing things with the internet. It's incredible. So
it is, and that's really taking advantage of your resources and being able to know how to use those resources so that you can make a decision like that. Now, one thing that comes to mind, I'm looking at the land itself. Obviously these aren't like ready to build on lots or anything, but you mentioned back taxes. Were there any liens or anything like that? Like, were they worried about the overgrowth, or is this area that it just didn't matter?
No, it was, there wasn't any liens other than I think 2 years back taxes, but yeah, it's, I don't know how it is everywhere, but in general, if a property has never been developed and it's never been like cleared off or mowed, then you're not required to maintain it beyond. You can't have like a bunch of like garbage all over it or anything, but you don't have to go out and run a lawnmower through the woods. It's just, it's the way God made it, and that's you can leave it like that, but once you clean it off, then it's your job.
Again, another important lesson: don't mow it until you have to, right?
Yeah, right.
All right, fair enough. Now, so you're going to tell us about the purchase price and how you came to that, but I'm curious also about how did you know immediately did you know immediately what the retail value was going to be?
No, there wasn't really any good comps, but there were some other vacant lots in the area that had sold, so I had some idea what individual lots would sell for, but not a bigger parcel. But I knew, it was assessed around like 40-something thousand, and so I knew at 20, and you could build. It would take basically 2 lots to put a building on it, is what the county required because the size, the square footage of the lot. So, but I knew I had 6 buildable lots, 20 grand. I didn't think I could go wrong. If you look at the aerial map, there's houses all around it. So it's, houses and mobile homes all around it. So.
Okay. And when you were originally thinking through the purchase, was there any thought of you doing any development on your own, or you really just wanted to turn it and sell it to somebody else?
Yeah, that's not what I do. I don't do development. So I just get in and get out and figure out a way to get it sold. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And plus it's 2.5 hours away from Orlando. So.
Yes, always a very important piece as well. All right, so we've got some information about what all needed to be done, and we were just talking about what had to be done for building purposes. You want to take us through some of that and talk about what somebody would need to do?
Yeah, well, obviously and that photo there is kind of the northeast corner. There's actually a house there's a little piece of a driveway of the neighbor's house there. Yeah, it needed to be cleared off. There was some that needed to be filled. One of the people I sold to said that there was a little more mud in there than what he originally anticipated. So, but he already bought it from me. So, and it had there's electricity at the street, and there is a city water, but it's all septic tanks along that road, and there's mobile homes and houses up and down the street. So right across the street, there's several mobile homes, and there's the houses on the north and south end of there. So you could build either or. And yeah, it was like I'd mentioned it's 2 lots per 2 lots are required to put a building on there. So had 12 lots total, so I could put 6 buildings on the property.
And was your thinking at that point that you might sell it to 6 different people, or did you care?
Yeah, the way I market it, I just market it where it could be sold as a package or sold split off individually. And I got some offers of people trying to just buy like 2 lots or 4 lots. But the way it's configured, I wanted to make sure that if I did sell it off, that I'm not kind of selling off like a island in the middle of it or something like that, or configuring it where it splits my property in half. So I would just sell either off a piece off of the top or a piece off the bottom until I got most of them sold.
That makes sense. Makes total sense. All right, let's move on to the next part here. Let's see if we can get it. There we go. So tell us about the first sale. Obviously, like you said, you wanted to make sure that what happened was you were making sure not to divide it in some crazy way where it would create some problems for you. Looks like you sold off the bottom piece of it, the south part there. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. Yeah, you can kind of see that's the original subdivision plat from like 100 something years ago. You can kind of see, and there's 12 lots, and I guess there's an alley that goes through the middle, but there's nothing on pavement. It's just trees there, and then there's on the left side there's a street, but that street physically it just dead ends right at the very upper left corner is where that street dead ends.
So like right here.
Yeah, that's where it's dead ends. But the main street is on the right. That's the main drag kind of.
Down here.
Yeah, that street is the main road for the thing, because the street on the left doesn't go through to the south. It's just trees and grass there. Yeah, I mean, I got several offers that people trying to kind of figure it out, but for the first one I got that was reasonable was along the bottom 4 lots I sold off to an individual, and he wanted to just test out and buy some of the lots, and then once he started digging around in there, then he would see if the price he paid for the first set of lots was good enough to buy the rest of the lots. And so, but fortunately he missed out because then somebody else bought the other ones. So oh well.
Snooze you lose, right?
Yeah. But he dug in there, and then he told me after he bought it, then he came back and he says, "I'll buy the rest of them, but instead of paying $5,000 per lot for them, I was only willing to pay like $3,000 a lot." But I'm like, it's already pending, so too bad. But basically, he was planning on putting mobile homes on the properties. So he was. It's actually kind of odd because the guy I was dealing with, he lived in Arcadia, but his nephew was the one that was going on the deed, and the nephew lived in Apopka, so he actually came into my office and signed all the papers right in my office. So
Interesting.
Whatever works. And, so we sold. You can see I sold the bottom 4 lots for what I paid for the property. I only paid $20 for the property. I sold the bottom 4, so I got all my money back basically, right, just by selling that off. And, what we did. We sold. I sold it with seller financing. He gave me, let's see, which was it? He gave me $12,000 down, and I held a mortgage for $8,000. And because it's such a small amount, I just told him that he didn't have to make me any payments. We'll just accrue it for 2 years with a balloon at the end. And so, because otherwise it would just be just $100 a month or something. I figure it wasn't worth him having to write all those checks. It'd just keep it simple. But it's at 7% interest, so I'll get at the end they owe me 560 or 560 12 times 2. So so they owe me 9,000 and change at the end of it. So and it was 7% interest, no payments. and I have a first mortgage on the property.
Now, I see on this one that says buyers saw the for sale sign. Is that one that you put up?
Yeah, I went and visited the property and I just put for sale signs along the main drag so that, and they didn't have a realtor or anything, just somebody that saw it on the sign. And it did take me a few months to get it sold because I listed the property very high originally. I think I listed it in the whole piece at 99,000 just to see. I wasn't quite sure what it would sell for, and slowly dropped the price, and eventually it kind of gets to the point where somebody wants to buy it. And so
Okay.
it's a little bit of speculation on what it would actually sell for. So
Sure. So and I know it says you sold it February 23rd. I can't remember when you bought it. How long was it?
August. I bought it in August. So
Okay.
So
All right, gotcha. All right, let's move on to the second piece of that because you sold off the top portion, the 8 north lots. Tell us about that part.
that one I sold it through the multiple listings. They had a realtor that represented them on that one, so I didn't deal directly with the buyer on that. But that one it was a person that lives locally in Arcadia, and they had bought it and they were going to develop it and supposedly put mobile homes on that as well. So and they paid. I just told them I sold the bottom 4 for $5,000 a lot, and if he could match that, I'll give it to you. And so that's what they agreed to. So
Nice.
that's what it worked out. So, and they gave me, have it on there, 15,000 down and 7% interest, 60 months. And they send me monthly payments on that. I just cashed a November check just Monday for that. And so I get have the payments on that one. And I did have to pay a real estate commission on that, but I think it wasn't very much.
And that was
I may have it in the slides.
Yeah, I see that the buyer came from the MLS on that one. So,
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting indeed. All right, well, here's the full rundown on everything. If you want to take everybody through that real quickly.
Yeah, and you can kind of see in the picture, I mean, there's houses all around that. So, I mean, it's, it's not in the middle of nowhere. It's a nice baseball field and a park right at the end of the street there. So, I mean, it was kind of, granted, you go much further out than that and there's no more town. So,
It is Arcadia.
Yeah, there's about half a mile kind of northwest of there. There's like a crossroads where the downtown, there's Walgreens and a McDonald's and things like that, but there's not a whole lot else. Okay. So, that's the total of my prices when I sold it was $60,000. I paid 20, paid $581 in costs for title insurance and things like that when we purchased it, and then when I sold it, it was selling cost was $1,789, and I think the big part of that was I paid a real estate commission to on one of the sales. So. Yep. And there were some property taxes I had to pay, and you can see we collected $27,000 in down payments, and I have an $8,000 mortgage and a $25,000 mortgage from 2 different people.
So still got some checks coming in.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, presents for the future. So
beautiful. $42,000 profit, not bad. What do you think, folks?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Did not have to lift a hammer at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you like these. I don't do that many vacant land deals, but I don't know if I have it on this slide or not. But the best thing is that I did this in my self-directed 401k account.
Oh yeah, I don't think that was on there. No,
that's a Roth account too, so you pay no taxes ever on it.
that was the whole part of the tax-free cash flow for vacant land.
That one's it's completely tax-free. I never pay any income taxes on it.
Beautiful.
Straight in the retirement account.
Very strategic. Awesome. Well, we've got Rob's contact information up here. Obviously, Rob is a broker at Sand Dollar Realty, and we probably got time for 1 or 2 questions. Anybody have any questions out there? It's kind of hard to see. Over there. Who's that guy? Is that David? What's your question, David?
Why did you decide only to do 7% interest?
I could probably get more. I don't know, but that just was enough to get. That's what we negotiated.
Come on, you're better than that. You could have gotten 10.
Yeah, maybe. Well,
Hey, that's okay, Rob. David's going to be up here in about a half an hour, so it'll be your chance to grill him.
I have a couple more on the market, so maybe I'll just jack it up a little bit now. A couple different ones.
Yeah, no, that is an interesting question for sure. All right. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am, right here. Peter, you want to grab the mic?
You might have said already, but how did you find this property?
Through online, through our website, just internet leads. People put in, want to sell my vacant land for cash, and it came in through that. So, I've never been to Arcadia before, so it's first time.
Yes, no.
That's a cute little town, but there's not much there. So,
Yep. Another question over here. Here you go.
I guess that I came late to the whole thing. So did you sell it? Are you renting it? What are you doing with that land?
I explained in the deal to month, but I sold it with seller financing.
Yeah.
You sold it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came instantly.
That's all right. We have it recorded, so you can go back and watch it. Very cool. All right. Well, we're going to move on to our next one. Rob, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now for our next one, we're going to invite up one of our board members, Mr. Phil Georges. Come on up, Phil. Big hand for everybody. Come on, big hand. You can do better than that. Thank you. We have to coach them on applause. All right, so for everybody that doesn't know this, Mr. Phil Georges, he is on our board. Tell them what you do on our board.
I currently am the program director on the board.
Program director on the board.
And I'm also the multifamily group leader.
And also the multifamily group leader. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Phil. So the first thing that jumped out at me when I was looking at this, first of all, it's buildings. It was very different from a house or anything typical. And I seem to recall that we've been hearing about this deal, and trying to get Phil up here. And finally, we get to hear about this deal, and I'm just so excited to hear about it. So one of the first things I saw is, wait a minute, this says apartments and retail stores in New York. You live here, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yes,
So
I do.
tell us about that.
Well, in actuality, the deal has been a long time in the making. We bought it in 2015 and completed it in 2020. And I do live here in Florida. And as you'll see in one of the next slides, that's a special challenge.
Yeah, he's got quite a few things he had to overcome with this particular deal, but it is just absolutely fascinating. I love the fact that you're able to do what you did. Let's go ahead and get right into it and talk about some of the special challenges. There's the first one.
The first one is travel, because given the fact that I live here, I was traveling back and forth. And at one point, I was going back and forth every 2 weeks. I'd spend 2 weeks up there, 2 weeks here, 2 weeks up there, 2 weeks here. And so much so that I ended up getting an apartment in one of my units up there. I did one of the tenants moved out. I renovated it like you've seen in Back to the Future, and not Back to the Future. What was that? Coming to America.
Oh, yes.
Right, Coming to America. I did one of those moves.
Nice.
I had this nice apartment, bought a car. So whenever I went up there, I would be up there. But that was a real challenge. And then when COVID hit, because we weren't quite finished, my wife was like, I want you home. And I was like, oh God,
Yeah.
But I convinced her after a month or two, and then I just stayed up there for the rest of COVID until it was done.
Got it. All right. We'll talk about the age of the buildings.
Next special challenge is the age of the building. In Florida, if a building was built in the 1960s, it's ancient, right? Well, this building was built in 1800. Okay, so it's
1800. Y'all heard that, right?
yeah, 1800, not 19. So it's 200 years old last year. 1820 was the actual year. So last year it was its 200th anniversary of it being built. So that presents a lot of special challenges because things were built back then weren't the same code as they are now. Stairways were a lot thinner. Hallways were thinner. So there was a lot of challenges with that, with the age of the building.
And I'm sure that you'll talk about this part next, which goes
Right.
along with it, right?
So here's the next, and one of the biggest challenges, this was a historical property, so the Historical Society had to oversee all of what we were doing, because we had to keep the integrity of the building in terms of age and, things that were in it. We had to keep all of the doors, for example, all of the molding, all of the trim. We had to keep the floors. A number of things that not only did we have to keep them, we had to restore them in some cases, because sometimes we had to take something off because we had to make a new door. So we had to keep all the trim, and we had like this room of jigsaw puzzle of where does that go? Okay, and from construction to completion was 2 years. So imagine you take it down, and a year and a half later, you have to find that piece that belongs here or whatever. And we're still dealing with the Historic Society as we speak, even though the project has been done for almost a year now. But we're still dealing with them. So that was a very special circumstance.
All right, what about the architect?
Next one is the architect. Being that this was my partner and I's first project that needed major architectural work, we got an architect that was well recommended. It wasn't until we were in the project that we realized that he was well recommended, but for not this type of work.
Oh.
Okay, so I quickly learned how to read drawings, and initially I was kind of hesitant to challenge him because he's got a degree in architecture, right?
Right.
But as things progressed, I challenged more and more, and then realized this ain't right. So that was one of the challenges with the architect. The other challenge was we were under the impression, because we didn't know, that his fees would come out of the construction loan. Not the case. You got to pay architects in what they call soft costs, which you're doing construction project comes out of HIP National. We didn't have that. So that kind of extended the project a little bit.
Well, that leads nicely into the next topic.
Exactly. So we had to do a lot of things to raise the kind of money these architects got paid. They got paid a lot of money. I think all in total was close to 400 grand. Wow. So, scrambling to put money together to pay them, because they don't sign off on the next draw until they're paid. So we had to try to keep ahead of that.
Wow. All right. What about the financing there for the construction?
So that also, with the construction financing, we weren't familiar how that worked. And a lot of it was, number one, this was a $10 million project. So they wanted us to have more equity than we had in the deal. So we're finding money to throw in to be equity. That was a challenge. And, the fact that they give you the money after the work is done. So we're telling the construction guys, yeah, we're going to get paid next month. We'll pay you, And, we had to keep our word, but it was difficult, because they give you 30-day terms, but the construction doesn't pay you until, they get receipts that people paid.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's especially.
A lot of juggling.
Yeah.
A lot of juggling.
Yep. All right. What about the blasting through the building? You don't see that very often.
As you saw in that first picture, it was the whole block that we bought. And we're blasting, we had to blast through the buildings because Rochester, New York, also known as the wind chill capital of the United States, it gets cold. Gets minus cold. Okay, so you don't want people going outside in order to get to the gym, in order to get to, different parts of the building that they had to get to the elevators, etc. So we came up with the plan that we're just gonna make holes all the way through the building, which was a challenge because these are 6 individual buildings and the floors weren't necessarily the same in every building.
Oh, wow.
So that was a challenge.
I'll say, wow. wow, that's crazy. Oops, went the wrong way there. What about, all right, so what about rerouting then? Obviously you had to do some of that.
So imagine these buildings are, 150, 200 years old. The staircases had been there all that time. And the joists were leaning towards the staircase, and so were some of the floors. So we had to reroute staircases, one, because we had too many, and two, because of where they were located, they didn't match code. So we had to figure out where we were going to put the staircase, and we had to widen a lot of them because they didn't fit. Now here's the other tricky part. A lot of them, the Historic Society said, you cannot move these. These stairs must stay the way they are. Refinish the flooring on the treads, and they were, they had warps in them, and it was a nightmare with the staircases.
Wow. Well, that is an interesting point that it goes into structural integrity. Right. Obviously, something that old, there had to be a lot of issues like that.
Yeah, there was a lot of issues with structural integrity because, as I said, like a lot of the floors were going like, you could put a bowling ball on one side, it across to the other side.
Oh, wow.
So, we had to do a lot of engineering of lifting floors and, putting down new joists because some of them were just burnt out and old. So that was a big deal.
Wow. All right. And what about elevators? Now, I'm guessing in 1800, they didn't start out with any elevators, did they?
There was no elevators in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And these are 4-story walk-ups, and we were trying to produce an A-class product. So we had to put in elevators, which was a challenge because not only the structural integrity of the building, we had to cut a hole in these floors that are 200 years old, and not only cut the holes, but rebuild the shaft, and how do you get to that part of the building, and is it feasible in that part of the building to put an elevator? Because like one of the elevators, in the end, wasn't the best location, but that's the only place we could put it. These buildings, some of them were 100 feet deep. So one of the elevators, we put 2 elevators in the project. One of the elevators is all the way in the back of the building. So we had to midstream figure out, okay, how do we get back there?
Oh yeah, of course.
So we built a hallway to get all the way back there. So you're coming from the front of the building, you got to walk to the back of the building to get the elevator.
Wow. All right. So what about this new water main?
So, not to belabor the point of how old these buildings are, the water supply was not built for 41 apartments and 9 stores. So halfway through the project, we realized for water suppression purposes and proper water flow, we had to put in a whole new water main. Wasn't in the budget.
Yeah, that would be a few extra dollars, right? Okay. Right. And then dealing with the city?
Dealing with the city was a special challenge, one of the most special ones. We are right next door to City Hall.
Oh.
So the code inspector sat in his window and he's looking at us every day like he had no other job to do. They were taking pictures and texting us pictures. At one point, we had dumpsters where we're throwing out the garbage when we're demoing, and the dust plume left the dumpster and landed on some city vehicles. We had to wash all of their cars. We're like, really? I mean, this has been like this for 50 years. We're trying to beautify the neighborhood and the block, and you're giving us all this hard time. But they were adamant. They were just watching us and just driving us bananas,
Yeah, that is not a good location to be in when you're right next to the people that keep an eye on you, right?
Oh, yeah, they were right there.
All right, so this is the current modern day picture then, right? No, obviously not. 1952, though.
This is the block we bought on the left-hand side there, and that building back there, pointy one, is Kodak. You guys familiar with Kodak, right? That's the Kodak world headquarters.
Oh,
still is today. And that left side is the block we bought, and that was what it was in 1952. We somehow got this picture. Somebody heard about the project, and the library had a picture, and they heard about it, and they rushed over and gave us a picture. And right about that time was the last time those buildings were occupied.
Really?
Yeah. So the retail retail had remained occupied throughout time, but the upstairs was just vacant space for all these years. So, some of the joists were rotted with rain and, there were dead birds in there and everything else,
Wow. All right. Well, let's go through some pictures of what it looked like during construction. What are we looking at?
So what you're looking at here is the condition of how some of them look. In that middle picture, you got all the lath and plaster that these buildings were made of.
Yeah.
So we had to take it down, and the Historical Society wanted us to put it back.
Are you kidding?
So we probably used about 100 dumpsters of just plaster and lath that we had to take off the walls. And if you see the trim in that middle picture of the windows, we had to take those down and put them back.
Oh boy.
Okay. And in this picture here is an example of us having to take the joist up, put brand new joist in, and then put the old floor back on it.
This is the
Because
bottom
we
one,
had to
bottom
keep
right?
the original floors.
Down here? Gotcha. Wow.
So if the floors were in good condition when we got it, they had pictures of it, and regardless of what was underneath that floor, we had to put the floor back. Okay, but there was some cases where the floors were so bad we put new floors in, but this was an example of one that we had to put the joist down and put the floors back in jigsaw puzzle style. Okay.
Wow. And how much of that did you know before you got into
None.
this? That's what I thought.
None of it.
Yeah. All right. What about this? What are we looking
This
at here,
is just
Phil?
some picture of when the framing started going up. That was some demo pictures of, inside of some of the apartments
Okay.
that eventually became apartments.
Okay. And then this is
Now,
what it was like when it started.
This is one of the buildings on that whole block. And this is how it looked when we started. All the upstairs is vacant. And, with the Historical Society, they're really, really picky about facade. Okay, now this facade was covered over by whoever had it over the years, but we had to restore it to original 1800s charm.
Wow.
So in this middle picture, this is what we thought it should look like. So we finished it. We're proud. We call the Historic Society, say, well, hey, we're done. Next drawer, please.
And they said,
They
no,
said,
thank you.
no, take it down, redo it. So we took it down, we redid it, and this is what it looks like today.
Wow. Impressive. Very impressive.
Now here you're looking at the stairs that were, 200 years old, and this is what it looked like when we finished. Now, as you see in this picture, it's wide open, but we had to make it fire safe because in today's time, you can't just leave them open like it was back in those days. So we had to put doorways and do all the fire coding stuff that was necessary.
That's just incredible. Wow. All right. Talk to us about this.
Okay, so I said it was vacant for 50 years. Reason it was vacant for 50 years, no developer would touch it because they didn't know how to make it a viable project. Well, my partner, sharp guy, figured out that we could sell our tax credits. So we did that, and we got $3.4 million for selling our tax credits.
And tell them what you were talking about earlier about like who would want these? What are they going to do with them?
So, there are people with some deep pockets. I know some of you are in the audience, and you need big tax write-offs. And people like that buy other people's credits that don't need them. So we were kind of broke. We didn't really need $3.4 million worth of tax write-offs, so we sold them.
All right. What about the grant?
They give you about 80 cents on the dollar. That's how it works.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Then we also got a grant from New York State for revitalizing the neighborhood. So again, this is all free money. And that's what made the project possible, because without that, it wouldn't have worked.
And once again, let me ask the question, were you aware that that was going to be possible before you started, or is that?
These two, both of them, we knew before we
You knew.
started.
Okay.
Yeah, we knew that before we started.
All right, makes sense. And it looks like Home Depot wanted to write you a pretty big check. Now, that's
see,
2%, right?
All of you guys sitting in the room, if you're not using your Home Depot card and you're not using the RIA code, that's the kind of money you might leave over on the table. So we got all of that on the discount that we get from being part of CFRI.
So if you're not a member, you need to be a member. There's my sales pitch for the day.
That's right.
All right, but it does add up. Absolutely. Now, I'm really curious to hear about this one because I love my American Express card. So I want to hear more.
This kind of just worked out, okay? So, we charged up like about 700,000 at Home Depot, and I don't know how many points I got for that, but I travel a lot, and it comes in handy.
They do add up, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, that's very creative. And again, it's another one of those strategies. When you're doing things like this, take a look at what card you're using and what the benefits are.
They immediately mailed me a platinum card. It was just like, they're like, oh, here you go.
So I'm surprised they didn't show up your door and pick you up and take you out for the evening.
Yeah.
All right, so what about this then?
So this used to be at last use an OTB office.
Oh,
You guys familiar with OTB offices? That's where, well,
unbelievable.
in New York, they weren't allowed to go to the racetrack, or they didn't go to the racetrack. They just go to the off-track betting office. They sit in there, watch the horses run, smoke cigarettes, and that's what it used to be. And this picture is after we demoed it out. There used to be a staircase right there in the middle. And this is going to become our lobby. So we bust through, remember I said the hallway to the elevator? So that opening there is going to let you get to the elevator, okay?
Okay, all right.
And this is what it looks like now.
Wow.
All my design.
Wow.
I sat with the architect and we went, and
That is impressive.
right. So that's our lobby now and leasing office, and that leads you to the elevator and the stairs.
That is gorgeous, Phil. That is absolutely gorgeous. Here's another before and after. What do we got
This is
here?
before. You see how the floors look and the windows look. This is how we got the property, and that's after.
Yeah, that is impressive. It's one of those things where I looked at it when I was first looking at it, I thought, man, I would never live here. And then I look at the after pictures like, hey, this is nice. This is really nice. Wow. Take a look at some of these.
And these are some finished pictures. The top picture you see, the floors were so bad and so rotted, we were able to put new floors in. But in this right-hand picture, those are the original 200-year-old floors.
Wow.
And I don't have a picture of what they looked like when we got started, but trust me, they were nasty. But as wood goes, you get enough sanding on it, you get to that core and throw some poly on it, it's looking good.
That's just amazing that we can do that with stuff that's old. I love that. All right, here's a couple more.
And this is just, some insides. This particular apartment, we were able to put a loft in, so we got extra rent because, once we got to demo and we looked at the ceiling, we're like, that's 20 foot high. This is the top floor.
Okay.
So we, on the fly, threw a loft up there.
Nice. Very nice. All right. Well, let's talk numbers.
So here are the numbers. We purchased the block for $975. That soft cost was about $500,000 that we had to come out of pocket after the purchase. And we got a construction loan for $7.4 million.
You guys all just go out and get one of those every day, right? 7.4 million construction loan, no big deal. All right, and then let's talk about the other part of it.
So this is just rehashing some of the numbers I had. We got 3.4 million in tax credits, free money. We got a grant, 950 free money. We had the construction loan. And then it got a little interesting because we had to close the construction loan last December. That was the time frame we had. And in the construction documents, the loan documents, we had to pay $30,000 a month for every month that we did not close. And we couldn't close until the Historic Society signed up. So we're paying it. And finally, a member of this group, because I had no more money left, gave me $300,000 to, close that loan. So we closed the loan. So that's where the 330 and 210 come in. And we got a permanent loan for 6.3. It was appraised at 8.4. It leaves us $2.1 million in equity. Plus, we got most of our money back.
That is impressive. And I want to call attention to one other thing there too. You talked about the fact that somebody that's a member helped you out with that.
Absolutely.
In our second segment that we're going to be doing about giving thanks, that's what this is all about, you know, how we can all help each other with deals like these. So that is just absolutely.
That's why we're part of this group. I've been part of this group for a very long time, and I've done deals with a lot of people in this group, and that's what it is. You have a resource to call, because we're sitting here, we tapped every resource we had at this point, and we were just close, not close enough.
Yep.
And, you know.
It's not like the Historic Society was going to run down and go, oh, I'm sorry, you have to pay
They
$30,000.
still haven't given us the last $1 million. We're still waiting for that, because just, you know, we've been done since last December, and it's been 100% occupied since March. However, we had to go back and do some things, and it was a big deal in Rochester, so they got us on the news, and this is a short little clip. I have the whole link. It was like a 6-part news story that ran all morning long in Rochester, but I just took a few seconds and let
Yeah,
it.
you guys got to check this out. Peter, you ready back there for the audio? Yeah. Okay.
A row of historic buildings in Rochester are being restored for residential and commercial space.
The project called Center City Place, and it's located next to City Hall.
Michael Schwartz is live, giving us a tour this morning, showing us how those 6 buildings are connected. Hey, Michael.
Hey, good morning, guys. You'll notice that this is more of a blue hue in this room compared to the yellow. And Phil Georges is one of the developers here with Tony Salino, who's back there. But what's really cool is that these buildings are connected. This is 6 buildings. And what you're saying is that these are the oldest still standing row of buildings left in Rochester.
That's correct. And what we did is we made pass-throughs to all these buildings so that you can go from building to building without going outside and getting to the fitness room or getting to other areas of the building. As you see, we're walking through from one building. Now we're in a new building.
Just like that. Just like that. Now, State Street is just out here.
State Street is just out here. And as you can see, we've got some of the original brick. We've got security cameras. This is just one of the many entrances.
How about that? That is just super, super impressive. And in case anybody wants any of Phil's contact information, it's up here. I think let's see, we have time maybe for 1 or 2 questions. Let's see, Peter, where are you with the microphone? We've got a couple of questions back over there, I see.
Did you rent them all out now, or?
Yeah, they're 100% rented. There's 41 apartments and 9 stores, and I have all of it rented. It was like, we rented half of it during COVID, which was impressive to us because, you know, we were panicking when COVID came. We only had 2 or 3 units full at the time, but they got full quick. In downtown Rochester, we're getting like 1,100 for 1 bedrooms and like 1,500 for 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
Which is really high in Rochester, but downtown has come back because Rochester's, for those who don't know, is one of the cheapest places in the United States. Okay, but
wow.
and because of its cheapness, people and companies have been coming back and they wanted product like this, and it worked out.
What are taxes and insurance on something like that?
I have no idea, to be honest with you, right off the top of my head. But we sold our tax credits. We sold them, so we don't have any write-off right now.
Insurance?
Give them the mic.
Ballpark, I want to say 50 grand, I don't know.
All right. Another question.
Phil, how long did it take you with the tax credits and the grant? Were they both at the same time, or what was the time frame for the grant versus tax credits?
The tax credit took longer because you have to find investors who are looking for those write-offs. And, you know, we found a broker who that's what he does. He matches the credit with the investor who's looking for the credit. So that took a while. I want to say that took about a year. And probably similar for the grant because that was a state offered grant and we were queued to get it, so that worked out.
Did you have to own the building for a certain amount of time?
No, you just had to agree to revitalize.
All right. Any other questions out there? We've got time for one or two more. Mark's got one. Oh, you got one over there, Peter? All right.
Phil, oh shoot, I forgot.
Todd, you heard about this long enough.
We stalled too long. Todd
Dan
forgot
had a
his question. Mark had one too.
I believe we have a question on the chat box.
Oh, okay.
What kind of cash flow are you getting off of this now?
Right now, I think it's about, our gross rents are about 60,000. So I would say roughly about 25, 30.
Not bad. Not bad. Did you say there was one from Zoom?
I've got a question. So how did you deal with the Historic Society and safety and, you know, who dictated what happened and how it happened? And then how long did the Historic Society hold you up before you could actually close and get everything done?
Well, they're still holding us up. Although we closed, we haven't gotten our last payment of close to $1 million. So we're closed, but you know, waiting for that money to come back. They would come like, I think on a monthly basis and take pictures and kind of see what we were doing, what we demoed, what we put back. You know, there was tin in there. I didn't talk about that, but there was that old tin in some of the ceilings, which we put back. We have hidden staircases where the staircase is not functional, but it's historic and it couldn't be taken out. You know, so there was all kinds of weird stuff like that. But the Historic Society was on us.
Were they reasonable or were they totally unreasonable?
That's a, you know, I don't want to say anything at this point. They still owe us money.
Yeah. All right, folks, we need to go ahead and wrap this up. Phil is going to be available obviously after this, but we are going to take a 15-minute break so that everybody has a chance to visit the vendor tables. And it's actually going to be about 14 minutes now, but at 7:15, if you will come back in here for the second part of our program, not only are we going to do the giveaways that we talked about, but Dave Pupo is going to be up here talking about our section on giving thanks. So take 15 minutes. If you need to use the restroom, walk around. Another hand for Phil Georges, please. We got about 1 more minute and we're going to get started with the second half of the program and doing some giveaways and things of that nature. So if you're out in the lobby, you've got 1 minute.
All righty, people, start making your way in. We're gonna start throwing some t-shirts out. I saw some ears perk up.
See how far I can.
Oh. All righty, so I'm gonna make sure I throw a little bit more sauce on it. There we go. Go ahead, my man. And then, oh, Todd, you're on your phone? Okay, you don't want a shirt? I got you. There we are.
Which direction are we going?
We got one more. There it goes. There it goes. Jay Spawn, your president, also pitcher.
All right. In case you guys do not know, this is Mr. David Pupo. David is our director of marketing for CFRI, and he's going to be running this next segment and talking about giving thanks. And in just a little bit, he'll be calling me back up here, and we're going to do some more giveaways. So all yours, David.
Perfect. Thank you, Jay. As you heard, I'm David Pupo. I've been with this beautiful organization now for about 5 years. I've been lucky enough to now become a board member. And when we had this board meeting a few weeks ago, I decided to come up with the idea of being able to give thanks, of course, on the theme of November, right? Thanksgiving and everything like that. One of my favorite holidays. It's a very big and near tradition in my family to go around the table and give thanks to people for being able to make impacts, whether it's in other people's lives in the community, whether it's friends, whether it's family, just give thanks. So I decided, and the board thought it was a fantastic idea because of how great this culture is with CFRI, on how day in, day out, we have countless amounts of meetings, we have countless amounts of events where you just have people interacting with each other. You just heard Phil say that he reached out to a local member to help him out with closing out probably one of the biggest deals I think we've ever seen here in CFRI. The construction cost alone was what, 7.4 million? That's amazing. It's absolutely incredible that we have people that are doing those kind of big projects in this kind of community, and that when they need a helping hand, there's people in this community that are willing to provide. And of course, they're investors. I'm sure they're going to get paid out. But heck, you don't know what you don't know until you start asking and you start connecting with some of the people here. So we wanted to bring up a couple of special guests who decided that they would like to be able to give thanks to the community. So one of the first people I want to bring up was Connie. Connie has been a member with us for quite some time as well. There you are.
Thank you.
Connie, if you want to give them an introduction.
I'm Connie O'Hanlon, and Tom and I have been members here for 29 years. And I know it's like, I started putting the numbers down, and I went, really? 29 years? Because I do the whole count. Katie turned 29 yesterday, our daughter, and I was pregnant with her when we joined the club, and then when we went on my first big bus tour with Ron LeGrand, and I was about 6 months pregnant with her. So I had to say, okay, now how old's Katie? Katie? So it'll be almost 30 years. And I've been a lifetime member for 20 years.
That's amazing.
And
right there.
Tom and I have rental properties. We have in East Central Florida, we live in Oviedo, and we have flipped. We are currently teaching our kids to flip. And we are also private lenders. We lend money to purchase and rehab properties to investors who flip single-family homes within an hour of Orlando. And can I tell them the 5 reasons why I'm thankful? Or
Please take it away.
You want to?
No,
Okay.
I love it. You're prepared. I love it. Go with it.
Well, I studied communication, so, but I only had 24 hours, so it's not memorized. But these are 5 reasons why I'm especially thankful for CFRI, and I agree with you. I think that is a beautiful idea, and Thanksgiving is also my favorite holiday because I think one of the highest attributes that you can have as a human being is to be humble. And one of the reasons how you become humble is by being grateful and not thinking that you did it all, you are all that. And unfortunately, our society today tends to focus the spotlight on me, instead of how can I help people around me.
Absolutely. And to hit you with humble, if you're a real estate investor here and you're doing some serious work, I'm sure you've eaten some humble pie as a fair amount of times as well. So humble is the perfect way to describe it.
So these are 5 reasons why I love CFRI, and I'm very grateful for CFRI. And I have felt that way throughout all of our history. And I've told so many of my clients and new people that I highly suggest that they join CFRI because you just can't beat the bang for the buck. But I thought of 5 main reasons why I love CFRI is that number 1, CFRI provides unparalleled education opportunities. For me, landlord guidelines. How many of you learned how to properly serve a 3-day notice at CFRI? Ideas for better performance on properties and residents. I remember hearing somebody at CFRI tell us that any rental property that you have in Central Florida that is in an unincorporated area instead of like a city, you're getting your trash bill on your taxes every year. And really, you should be billing your residents for those taxes. And in our case, what's about $250 a year. And so you're missing out. If you have a large portfolio, you're missing out on those tax dollars, that cash flow every year. So we changed that about, 15, 20 years ago? That's something that I learned at CFRI.
Never even knew that one. That was a new one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's not something that because I explain to my tenants when they move in, this is what we will be billing you for in November because it's your trash. If I'm putting my trash out the road, I'll pay for it. You put your trash out the road, you pay for it. Because if you live in the city, you're paying for it in your water bill. Some tried and true ideas for materials, to use cost-effective repairs. I remember somebody at CFRI saying, get rid of the disposals. And, it sounds simple, but it's really, really effective. The number 2 reason is CFRI offers a variety of networking opportunities. Knowing who to ask for advice, referrals, ideas. I don't know about you guys, but you go on Google and you start reading reviews and stuff, you don't know whether those people were paid to write the stuff, but when you get to know people in CFRI, you know who to ask, you know who you can trust. You can have somebody calm your mind about a decision that you're making. Somebody can help you see it in a different light. I remember a realtor friend saying, are you going to remember that you paid $5,000 more for that rental property in 25 years after it has been a great and robust property throughout all those years? No. So don't sweat the little stuff right now when 5 years is not going to make a difference. In my early 30s, I appreciate going to meetings with my more experienced investors. I think I remember talking to Marianne Giannetti. Who remembers Marianne Giannetti? And Bob Lerner, he gave us so much legal advice and help and that kind of thing. So now I realize we're the old people now. So anyway, Tom and I are private lenders, and every month we get to come here, at least before, all this is before COVID, but every month we get to come here and talk to new people who really want to get involved in real estate, but there's a big hurdle. They don't know how to go out and make cash offers because they don't have the money. So we consider it a win-win situation because we get to tell them, hey, we've got cash, we base it on the value of your house, and now you don't have a hurdle. You can go out and make a cash offer, and we'll back you up, and we'll give you money to rehab the property. So some people have been able to get into their first deal using somebody else's money, other people's money. And so it's a great thing to see people get into the market and learn to swim. One of the third reason that I love CFRI is that CFRI brings us nationally recognized speakers. How many of you could just call people up that live in Nevada and they would even take your phone call? Not many of us could do that. I said earlier, back in the early 90s, I took Ron LeGrand's seminar on flipping houses, and I didn't know who he was. He was great. It was a wonderful opportunity to learn, and a lot of the things that I do today are as a result of Ron LeGrand's influence. But CFRI provides the critical mass and the clout to bring expert speakers here that we would not be able to access on our own, or they would be incredibly expensive. Because those of us who go to advanced seminars like Las Vegas and places like that, we're paying $3,000 and $5,000. And you get to come here, and for a couple $100 a year, you get to hear a little snippet of them so that you can know if you want to continue on. One big idea from Ron that I swear I have to say this over and over again, and all of us should take this to heart. And remember, now this is $1992, okay? So he used to say, do you want to pay yourself $15 an hour to swing a hammer, or $50 an hour to find deals? So I remember the first things I learned was at my first CFRI meeting. Of course, I came in my navy blue interview suit, like so many first-timers do. And John Schaub was speaking, and he talked about you want to make sure that your rental properties are fixed up nice if you want to attract nice residents. Sounds like a very simple concept, doesn't it? But I think, in 1986, they changed a lot of the tax laws, and a lot of people were letting their properties get run down because they were getting screwed in the taxes, and they were feeling like they bought them wrong. But really, if you want to have good tenants, you got to have a nice place for them to go. And then number 4, our club offers connection. That's probably not one that you would think of that I would talk about in front of CFRI, but if COVID has taught us anything, it's that we humans crave connection. And your Muggle friends won't understand your reluctance to file an eviction like your CFRI friends do. Your CFRI friends can tell you about their alternative cash for keys strategy and negotiate a deal and outside of a courtroom. Many investors are out-of-the-box thinkers who don't have regular jobs or commuter woes. At a CFRI meeting, we can find our peeps, and they also think that cat pee smells like money.
Amen on that one.
I knew that we had succeeded as parents when our son was very reluctant to buy his current house that he's living in. He was dragging his feet. And we walked in the house. We closed that morning. He had never been inside. He walks in, smells dog poop. He goes, smells like money. I was like, yes. So anyway, a lot of us, I know I've gone to a lot of subgroup meetings where when people walk in, people in the group call their name out, hey, Ron's here, Colleen's here. And it's like cheers when they call out, Norm. We all want to know, be known by our names and that kind of thing. So CFRI does offer wonderful connection. And finally, CFRI offers us motivation and inspiration. We all need a kick in the butt sometimes. In a world that, like our neighbors or our friends might think that a hoarder's house just needs to be leveled, we know that we can go in and basically calculate about how much stuff, cubic feet, needs to be done. Then we can call somebody in CFRI and get connections to a clean out company that will do it in 2 days. How many of you have done a hoarder house? They're fun.
They're right up there with Cappy.
I had a new client or potential new client call me the other day, and when he told me what he was going to be doing, I noticed his numbers were off. So in a kind and gentle way, I was showing him and going through the numbers and explaining where his numbers really needed to be. So in closing, I encouraged him to be brave, and I taught him how to do the numbers to estimate how much he should be buying the property for and how much I would lend on it. And I told him, be brave, go make an offer. The worst thing they can do is say no, right? Nobody bites you, there's no pain or whatever. But in general, CFRI is filled with people who are uplifting, they motivate you, they help you. And in closing, I'll share this quote from Reid Hoffman. The fastest way to change yourself is to hang out with people who are already the way you want to be. If you want to be successful with 1 or 1,000 transactions, CFRI is a strong foundation for achieving that goal. You will also certainly get there faster because you won't have to spend time reinventing the wheel with every decision you make. The bang for your membership buck is incredible here. But like everything else in life, you do have to show up. You have to show up to the subgroup meetings. You have to show up to the general meeting. You have to show up for board meeting. I remember as the vice president of membership, I dragged boxes and boxes of newsletters every month to the meetings. So make sure you go to every meeting that you can, go to Zoom meetings. Zoom meetings have been great for long distance meetings, like ones in Brevard County that I don't want to drive an hour to or drive home in the dark. And if you really want a home run, volunteer at the meetings, go Buffy, and join the board, right?
Absolutely.
Have you noticed that it just seems like your knowledge and your connectivity has become exponential since you joined the board?
It's been great. The people that are on the board are all very successful in all their different ways, and you get to have intimate conversations with people. It's been fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I've really enjoyed our years of CFRI. It doesn't feel like it's been 30 years. I'm not old enough to say that. But anyway, thank you for having me. Do you have any questions?
Absolutely. Connie, everybody, thank you. Absolutely.
Questions or?
No,
okay,
that's
okay,
it.
that sounds good.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Guys, she hit on so many things. That was amazing, because when I first came into CFRI, a little bit green behind the ears, I was definitely trying to learn anything and everything that there was about real estate, and all these other different, I call them the circus shows, the ones that come in here for the weekend, pitch you the course, pitch you the product, and then at the end they just go, okay, well, just go to the local RIA, they're going to help you out with everything else. Please pay me $5,000, right? That was one of the first things I loved about CFRI is you got to connect with people. Everybody was in the same boat with paying the same kind of membership, but you got to get experience from all different levels of professionals. People who are landlords, people who are flippers, people who are developers, people who, like Phil, are doing essentially syndications on apartment buildings. We have a lot of people who are note investors, note holders, everything. So it's been an amazing time to just find out what you like. I mean, this is the place to do it, guys. It's costing you, as Connie said, a couple $100. Go to these meetings, find out. That's what I did. I was going to every single thing. I mean, this is pre-COVID, but I was going to everything live to find out what I liked. And that's how I landed in wholesaling. Wholesaling was one of the easiest ones for me to understand when I was at that age, and had the lowest barrier of entry for me. And then I started networking with lenders, buyers, other wholesalers, property managers, title companies, and guess what? Your network is your net worth. Now, if you want to go on the CFRI website or the Facebook group, I mean, you just type in plumber on that search bar, you're going to get hundreds of results for plumbers. If you just type in electrician, you're going to find hundreds of results for an electrician. So, as Connie hit it on the head, you're getting people who are recommended by other investors, right? What kind of better referral can somebody really get than knowing that another person who's doing multiple properties is suggesting this person for you? And that's a great segue. Another person that we want to bring up is another board member, Chad. Chad, if you'd like to join us.
Thank you, Dave.
Chad, please introduce yourself.
My name is Chad Schultz. I'm happen to be on the board as well. I've been with CFRI, I want to say about 4 years now, I believe, about 4 years. I had actually done a project or two prior to CFRI, then found CFRI, and everything is just kind of rocket shipped from there. You know, you mentioned being thankful for lots of stuff, and excuse me. The thing that I've gotten the most out of from CFRI, other than the fact that I've learned you really don't have to pay dues, and it's not because I'm on the board or anything like that. It's, yes, you put the money out up front, but if you take advantage of some of the sponsors that were shown on the screen, you know, Home Depot, Office Depot, the Build-A-Sign, all the different companies that are back-end members of the national RIA and that sponsor us, it will more than pay for your membership. I mean, I literally haven't had to pay for membership because of that. And CFRI, if anything, actually makes me money because of that. So take advantage of those things. But the biggest thing for me, I think, is the connections. Like she mentioned, I actually made a connection at my first or second CFRI meeting, which was a training, I think, that I went to at the main office. And as I was leaving, I think it got out for the day we were leaving, people were networking, made a connection with a guy. And since then, he and I have done, I think I was on project number 3 by the time we started that. And since then, he and I have done another 19 projects, I believe, together. 7 of those this year.
And Chad, everybody, he does a lot of fix and flips in primarily Volusia County, correct?
Right, I do fix and flips. I do a little wholesale. We've done some land deals. But this year, my most thankful point or connection through CFRI is a CFRI member title company, PCS Title, and PCS Law Firm. Through the members, I learned the best way, or at least one of the better ways, depending on your goals, for holding property, when you're going to flip property, things like that, land trusts. And I use PCS Title, and it's great. I mean, I literally can make a phone call. I don't have to hardly do anything else. Papers show up. I can electronically sign, and then I don't have to touch the paperwork ever again for a property. And it's been so nice. Like I said, we've done 7 projects. The 7th one is closing actually in about a week and a half. But
perfect. And for people who don't know, PCS Title is owned by Joe Siegel. Joe Siegel does a tremendous amount for this community. He's done an incredible amount of teachbacks with land trusts, how to purchase properties correctly, what kind of contracts you're using. Heck, I mean, we still use a couple of his documents in the wholesaling process. He has like a wholesaling contract package, and that helps out a tremendous amount. Do you pay a good amount of money to get it? Yes, but you're getting something that's licensed and attorney approved. And there is nothing more comforting about knowing that you're using something that, worst case scenario, hey, Joe, you're having a dispute with something, Joe's going to come in and go, well, you know, I know what I did with these contracts, so I'm going to own these people. So it's really good to have that kind of backing.
Yeah, I actually use all of Joe's paperwork. It's a one-time fee. It's not the end of the world. I use all of his paperwork for my projects, and it's so much nicer to go to a property that you're going to either make an offer on or whatever it is. You're using a 3-page contract instead of a 12-page, or it's actually going to be 13 pages now. I'm also a licensed realtor. here, so I handle that kind of stuff as well. But when you show up, especially somebody you're trying to buy a house from, that's in whatever condition, is in distress of some kind, which is why you guys are talking. Because, let's face it, most of the time, if the house is perfect, they don't need you. And so when you're there you're really there to help them and try to help them. You do the best that you can to help them. But if you show up with this 13-page document that's got thousands of words on it, it's really intimidating. And so if you can show up with a 3-page document that's, double spaced even, I think, or spaced and a half, so it doesn't look crammed, and you can handwrite, fill in a few blanks, there's so much more at ease, and it's so much more comfortable in a transaction or that kind of discussion. And I picked up all that stuff from Joe. I've been using his paperwork almost exclusively for my own deals. Of course, if I do real estate, actual real estate, I have to use the state stuff, but I keep those separate.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's really, really critical. Everybody that's advanced or even beginning, you have to understand the importance of the kind of contracts that you're using. It is very critical. And as we started expanding out into different parts of Florida and in different states, you realize how quickly, how important it is to have really good contracts, guys. And this is what exactly Chad was saying. Yes, you pay a little bit up front, but you have security in knowing that your contracts are good. And Joe's, like I said, I still use a fair amount of them today. Not all of them, but you pay for it and you get to use them when you need to. I mean, he has just reach out to PCS Title. Joe can walk you through it. He's probably as knowledgeable as I've ever met of anybody in the real estate practice. So yeah, absolutely. He's been a fantastic vendor for a lot of people, and he's done, heck, he even did our operating agreement for when we formed Florida House Buyers. So it's great to have an attorney on deck like that, guys. So realize what kind of teammates you need as you're growing your businesses, whether, once again, it doesn't matter if it's a wholesaler, it doesn't matter if it's a flipper, landlord, you're going to need all the same kind of connections. An attorney is a great connection to have.
Yeah, excuse me, I have a good working relationship with Joe, probably because I've done quite a few deals with him. The more that you work with him, the more he's going to help and work with you, obviously. He works to develop that kind of relationship. It's not just a business thing. It's not just sign the line, send your check, call it a day. He really does invest some personal time, if you will, into the projects. And I've even offered to pay him again for these forms. And he's like, don't worry about it. Here's, he keeps me up to date on the link because he does update his forms. And I've said hey, Joe, you're killing it for me. You're doing all this stuff. I feel like I should give you something. And he said, don't worry about it. So it's all about the relationship, not about the business so much, but that relationship makes the business that much better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Chad, if there's anything I really appreciate you being able to come up and give thanks to some of the vendors that we work with, my man. I appreciate you.
Sure. No problem.
Thank you.
Dave.
Awesome. So yeah, Chad hit it on a good one, guys. Make sure that you're connecting with some of these business vendors because a lot of them have made great impacts, and especially as you're starting out, you need to know who you need to talk to in those graver situations. It's great when everything's cloud nine to keep it running, but when something goes wrong, when inevitably it will, know who you can contact. That is so critical, and that has been one of the biggest situations that have come up, and especially in wholesaling, guys. We're doing a lot of transactions if you're really trying to get that going, and knowing who to call is so critical. So and another very great person to be able to call, Andrew, are you here, my man? There he is. So this is one of the best inspectors that you guys can ever come across. So, Andrew, please introduce yourself, sir.
You're going to make a black man blush. I appreciate you. Hey, what's going on, family? My name is Andrew with ARB Home Inspections. I love to do y'all houses because you guys got the most smelliest, scariest, stinkiest, craziest houses that I ever seen. But I'm happy to do it for you because I want to make sure you guys are getting the best deal in the world possible. So we've been with CFRI now for probably about 4 or 5 years, give or take or so. And I got to say, I remember one of the first meetings that we went into was with Augie Bilot was teaching, is when we were at Stetson University doing the Osceola chapter meeting, and I took my wife there now with me. Now, she's not here, so I can say all kind of stuff about her. Hey, don't say anything, please don't bring her home. And so we went to the meeting, and he started talking about wholesaling. And so she kind of gives me that look, that corner look like, what's he talking about? And I'm like, don't worry, babe, it's all good. It's all good. It's nothing bad going on here in this case. So she's just listening the whole time, and her arm starts getting folded, and she's got her legs crossed. And I'm like, oh God, this is going to be a long car ride home. I can see it already. Jesus, pray for me. So we got to the car, right? And now my wife, if you guys don't know, she's from New Jersey, okay? So, she's got that strong, we'll just say body language when she talks to me about certain situations. I swear to y'all, it was a 15-minute car ride. It was the longest car ride home ever. I'm not doing this. It's illegal. You need a realtor to do all that. But she gave me the whole spiel. I'm telling you, I almost died on the way home. It was crazy. But I survived. Thank you, Jesus. And we ended up coming back because we had a friend that actually said, you got to keep on coming because the more you come, the more you grow. And it was true, y'all. The education here is priceless. There's so many smart people in this group that can educate you, teach you new things, help you grow up. It was amazing. So we finally started going enough, and we gained enough information, and we finally got the boldness to say, you know what, let's go do a deal, babe. We're gonna make this happen. Let's go out there and do a deal. So we decided to reach out to somebody. We started talking to them. We found a house. We made the offer. They said, yes. And we got really excited. And then we said, oh crap, what do we do now? Because, the paperwork and all that stuff, we didn't have no paperwork. We didn't have that much experience with all that stuff. So we were kind of like, okay. But the beautiful thing about it, like everybody's been saying, you got such great people here that are willing to help you. So we could call Augie. He would actually give us some information. We could call Carrie she would give us some information how to fill out the contract. Then we also could call Equity Title because we know what title company to go to. And that's because we just kept on coming. The more you come, the more you build relationships, the more you have a backup team ready to support you. And that's one thing we weren't even expecting. We developed a real estate family, which I think is probably the most priceless thing there. So they helped us. That wasn't the first thing that we actually ended up doing, thank goodness, because it was actually a bad deal. And thank God we had an amazing home inspector who loves to go in those dirty houses with the crawl spaces and the dirty cats and all those animals that could tell us that this house is totally terrible and we need to renegotiate the whole thing. ARB Home Inspections, look them up, they're great people. Anyway, but it was just fortunate enough that we have so many people to support us. And now my wife and I actually have a food pantry. So not only are you guys supporting us when it comes to our real estate business, but you also come out and make a difference by blessing people in our community by giving them food in need in that case. So there's just so many great things that we got from this group when it comes to family, when it comes to education, when it comes to support, when it comes to just showing love to each other. I can give every single one of you guys a hug right now. I might even do that. I'm gonna start hugging. You know what?
Somebody give him a hug. Come on.
You get a hug. That's what I'm saying. I'm like Oprah, baby. I'm giving hugs all day. Either way, y'all, great community to be a part of. Hope you guys have a great one. And I'm done. I have nothing else to say.
That's it, man. Hey. There you go, man. I got a hug. I'm a lucky man there. Okay. We got another guy. Come on up, Steve.
Not for me, but for Andrew and Andrea. When he mentioned the food bank, which will be this Saturday, we started out about 2.5 years ago, and we helped maybe 120 families. Is that right, Andrew? 100. Last time we handed out to 457 families. When you multiply by that, the number of people in the families, we helped close to 2,000 people. And this happens every week, every month at the Kingdom Church out on Point Siena Boulevard. Andrew and Andrea put in the time. We will have this weekend, 16 pallets of food to give out? Close to
30 pallets of food, guys.
Moly.
That's amazing.
The people line up starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. We start handing out food starting at 11 o'clock. So Andrew has brought this, and his wife have brought this to the community. And we have CFRI members who help at this. This is us giving back to the community. I wanted to say that. And also, we did Habitat for Humanity. We all helped. So not only do we help each other, but we're out helping the community.
There it is. Steve, everybody. Awesome.
Thank you, David. And thank you, Steve. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody that came up here and presented. And I think it goes without saying, and probably everybody can see this now, that one of the reasons we wanted to do a program like this is to just really show everybody and kind of emphasize how important it is that CFRI is not just about, as people said, pay your dues, show up, maybe go to a meeting, but it really is about being part of a family. I know for my wife, Paula, and for me, that one of the things that I think we were most surprised by as we started becoming part of CFRI was the number of people that were willing to help you and were willing to offer information, because you come in with this mindset of, oh, well, nobody's going to tell me that. That's a secret. You know, they had to work hard and learn it. They're not going to share that information, but that just is not the case. And I'm sure that's been your experience too.
Absolutely. I mean, when I started, I was 25 guys, just leaving a corporate job. The reciprocity that I've experienced with CFRI, if I stopped going to one single meeting and I paid my dues for the rest of my life and allowed my children to pay and then the grandchildren to pay, I still don't think I'd get the return I've gotten in just the first 5 years I've been with this association. It's been great. Just reach out to the people. The reciprocity is here, guys. I mean, I was very intimidated, just as many of you are, and now I get to be on a stage and be able to bring out fantastic other people that have helped out other people in their communities. How great is it that Andrew and he has other CFRI members being able to give back to the local communities? This is what it's about, guys. That's why Central Florida Realty Investors is a really great organization for you guys to be able to not only impact it through real estate like that, but I mean, you know, it's amazing. You're giving 30 pallets to families. That's amazing, guys. That's absolutely amazing.
It really is. And Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would venture to guess that we would say that the food pantry would not have been a reality as soon as it was if it hadn't been for CFRI. Yeah. I mean, that made that possible, all right, in the time that it did. Well, in spirit of giving back, we want to do a couple of giveaways before we wrap up for the night. So we're going to give away some Home Depot gift cards. I'll hand you that. And we randomly drew some names ahead of time so that we could try and be prepared. But as we said, you do have to be here. So Jan Jackson, are you here? I think I saw her over there. Yeah,
Jan,
just come on up. You won a Home Depot gift card. Woo. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of CFRI. And again, we want to continue to do things like this. And what we are hoping to do, obviously, is continue to be able to meet in person. And you heard about some of those fantastic education opportunities. Obviously, we're probably not going to try and do too much of that in December, but come 2022, we'll be looking to do maybe some more of that. All right, let's try another one here. David, let's see here. Who have we got? We've got, how about Jim Gates? Is Jim Gates here? Oh, there he is. There we are. We can't see out there too well. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Now, before we get to the last two that we're going to do here, I do want to remind everybody again that if you are wanting to participate in the meeting after the meeting, the MC of that event is Mr. Todd Hutchinson, who's back over in the corner over there. He is a fabulous individual, former past president of CFRI, and has done a lot for CFRI as well. But again, the reminder, that's going to be at the Ale House up on, is it Lee Road? Is that right? Yeah, awesome. Okay, so anybody that's doing that. All right, let's do another one of these. Here you go, David. And let's see here. Shelley Brown. Is Shelley Brown here? Hey, there's Shelley right there. Awesome. Fantastic, fantastic. All right, so we're getting close to wrapping it up here. Has everybody had a good time at our first meeting back? All right, woo. That's what I want to hear. And obviously, we're going to continue to do more of this. We're going to do some things like bringing back food and all of that good stuff. We'll get to it. I know everybody's excited about the pizza. I don't get it, but everybody's excited about pizza.
Literally my first question that my wife said, are you gonna be home for dinner or are they giving pizza out?
It comes up more often than we would want to.
Unfortunately, not, no pizza yet, but.
But yes, there obviously, we're still working through a lot of logistics with the building and the location and everything else, but we will gradually get back to doing everything as quickly as possible. So let's do one more of these. Let's see here. Bill Lewis, is Bill Lewis here? Okay, no. All right, and let's see here. Is Yolanda Claudio here?
Yolanda?
No? Oh, man. All right. Well, that's why we drew a couple of these in advance. How about Reva Thomas?
Yeah, there we go.
All right. There you go. I wish you guys could have seen the look on Reva's face when I said that shit.
It reminded me of Price is Right. When the
I know.
contestant gets called, like,
come on down. We just need the costumes, everything else, right? Awesome. All right. Well, that is all the giveaways for tonight. We want to thank everybody for coming out and being a part of CFRI's general meeting. Obviously, we expect to do it again. Buffy, anything else before we close it out?
I want to thank everyone who's joining us from home on Zoom.
Oh, I get to do that part. Thank you, everybody that joined us from home on Zoom.
Presidente.
Yes. All right. Thanks, everybody. You take care, drive safely, and we'll see you again at another meeting soon. Bye now.